This DeenTV video was made possible in part by Islamic Relief, working together for a better world, and by Guidance Residential, the #1 Islamic home financer in the U.S.
You wanna be at the top? Inshallah. Are we the cream of the crop? Inshallah. You gotta rock till you drop. Inshallah. Cause believers never stop. Yeah. MashaAllah. Come on.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Naeem Muhammad on DeenTV, always on, always live, and we're in our Believers in Motion segment with our good brother Mustafa Davis. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for being with us here. Now Mustafa Davis is with Mustafa Davis Photography. So how long have you been in the business with photography and film and video and all that?
So I started photography when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, my stepfather was an amateur photographer. He had a makeshift dark room in our house, in a closet in the house, and I just kind of picked up his camera and started doing it. I didn't become a business until probably I was like 25, 26 years old.
Okay.
That was like 3 years ago.
No way. Yes. Yes. And I just graduated from high school. Just kidding. No. Okay. Excellent. So now, I mean, for people, maybe what are some of the maybe some of the projects that people might be able to like point to that you've been involved in when you were doing this more professionally?
I think probably the Muslim community would probably know me most for DeenTight.
DeenTight,
Right.
yes.
It's a film I produced in 2008. It was my first feature documentary, and it's a story of Muslim Americans and British Muslims who are engaged in some form of hip hop music, and we're using it for the purposes of da'wah.
Okay.
And you can find that film online now. It's on YouTube. It's on Vimeo.
Now I remember that was kind of parts of it. I guess it was like kind of a research or a bit to see where people who thought maybe music or whatever.
Yeah.
How did that go? Or how did that even come about? You just thought that, hey, let me pick something really what's got some heat on it and put a camera on it.
Now you know
and
what
people going to get into it.
You know what it was is a lot of my peers are involved in that.
Right.
And you guys, you've been doing it for a long time.
A little bit.
And it was at a time where music was still taboo. Now you go to conferences and it's guitars, trumpets, violins, but back then that was not heard of. You were not gonna see that. You would be excommunicated, and that's it. See you later, bro.
You're talking about Native Dean traveled the world with 2 congas. So I mean, you can, so you know how that is.
So what it was, I was exploring some of my friends who were doing it, and in conversations with them, I would just ask them, it's controversial. Why are you doing it? And the answer was always, I'm doing it for da'wah. I'm doing it for da'wah. And as I started having the conversations more, I started to realize that I think some of them were just saying that they were doing it for da'wah to add a permissibility to it. Right. And I'm not talking about whether it's permissible or not permissible. I mean, from their perspective.
Right.
And so I was just going to do a short piece. It was going to be a 10-minute film with a few of my friends, just kind of discussing the issue. But as I started shooting, I started realizing that a lot of these guys were in a crisis, like a real identity kind of cultural crisis. And they were like crying on the inside. This is what they love to do, and they're doing it for a community that was split on it.
Yeah, even I mean, there was that one point. The one point I always remember is where what's the sister poet?
Liza.
When Liza's part. That was like the showstopper when she was talking about, well, what if you couldn't do this anymore? And
she said it might mean the dean.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
And that was like what? But that realness in a project like that is, I think that's amazing, and it's good that you're able to capture that. What about any other? I think also the ones that I know. Wayward Son is another one with the Jordan Richter story.
We just released Prison Blues as well.
Prison Blues.
Yeah,
Prison Blues.
And I made a feature film called The Warm Heart of Africa. It's actually my favorite film that I've made, but it's not been released.
That was one you were in
Malawi.
Yeah.
Malawi. It's about the HIV orphans, AIDS orphans in Malawi. There's 16 million population in Malawi. 1 million are orphans.
Whoa.
And so, actually, the way this film came about was interesting. I was talking with my father, who's not a Muslim, and he asked me one day. He said, you as Muslims believe that you have the last religion to come to mankind. I said, absolutely, unequivocally, that's what we believe. And he said, and so you believe that there's not any other prophets or any other religion coming after? And I said, no, that's absolutely what we believe. And he said to me, I will believe that when I see Muslims concerned with affairs outside of their own circle. And that affected me.
Yeah.
And so I'm embarrassed.
That brother is deep, because I remember even on one of them other movies, he was in the afterwards asking questions. I was like, I gotta meet this guy.
He's not real shy or quiet.
Awesome.
So I literally went on Google and I typed in poorest country in the world, and Malawi came up.
Okay.
And I started researching it, and I got on the phone. I started calling nonprofits and organizations on the ground, saying that I was interested in coming out there and documenting the story of the Malawian people. I must have called 10 or so places, and they all, shut the door down, because I'm introducing myself as a Muslim.
Right.
I'm Mustafa Davis. I'm a Muslim filmmaker. I'm interested in telling this story, and most of the NGOs on the ground, they're Christian organizations.
Right.
So they weren't really interested in having a Muslim come tell that story.
Right.
Then I got in contact with a lady by the name of Mary Woodworth.
Okay.
And she's a Christian herself, but she has Muslim and Christian orphans. And the Muslims, they go to Jummah and they do their Islamic studies, and the Christians, they go on, to church on Sundays. And so she invited me in, and I went there, and I basically spent about 3 or 4 months in Malawi and made that film.
So when even at one point, because I know Anas worked on the music, and I actually had a piece singing the chorus for Barca Blue. I mean, so when you gonna get this on? When you gonna get this out the can, man?
And maybe I'll get you a crew to put that in the credits of this piece here.
Yeah, man. So when are we gonna see this work?
We're having some trouble with executive producers in terms of how to get it out, but I'm working on it, inshallah. And hopefully within the next couple of years, we'll go ahead and get that out, inshallah.
Now, some of the other stuff you're doing as well, because we follow you on social media and all. I mean, I think you've actually been a little quieter before.
Yeah.
You was every day was like, man, what this guy don't put on social media. But one of the things we follow you that you're doing also these workshops and across the world on photography and different other things. What's that? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I'm old now. Those cameras are heavy, man.
Okay.
I just realized now that art is no longer taboo in the Muslim community. There's a lot of up and coming artists.
Okay.
And I started my art after I went 10 years for traditional studies.
Right.
And so that informs my art. So now I see there's an upcoming artists, a lot of the younger generation, and I think it's amazing, and I think it's great. And with the tools that are out there now, I think they're going to do some amazing work. But what I'm seeing is that there's not at least in terms of a majority of people that are really grounded in the tradition, and so I said, why don't I just start teaching the arts, both photography and film, for the Muslim community, and then infuse some of that in it, just so that if we're making movies and things, you don't have to do a movie with kissing scenes and those things. You can be creative. There's ways that you can do it, and there's a lot of the kids that say, these restrictions of Sharia, it stifles my creativity.
Right.
And I think it's the opposite. I think it, because you have these parameters you have to work within, you have to be more creative.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm going with the teaching. And I also teach and do work, in the mainstream as well. But for the Muslim community, that's why. So I'm playing with the idea of starting an arts academy, a visual arts academy.
Nice.
For this purpose, for teaching the arts.
You talk about the restriction, because sometimes I tell people, because I think this is what you do full on, and I know sometimes people want to do these full on, and I tell them sometimes that friction even in itself, that helps, kind of push and drive and all that as well. So, but you've been, how long you've been doing this, full on, this is what you
what
do.
I do, it's
between the workshops and the photography, and
it's been about 18 years now.
18 years.
Yeah.
And is it the way for creatives, when they're involved in different things, maybe they have to put a couple of pieces together in order to make a living in it. Is that I've seen that
Well,
be the case.
I teach this also in my workshops, and I think it's a misunderstanding of the arts. Be good at art and create art and be excellent at art, and then you're instantly money comes, right?
Right.
It just falls out from the sky, and then you're famous, and then you that's not the way it works. Some of the most renowned artists aren't necessarily the best artists, but they're the best at marketing and they're best at business, and so creating a business out of it takes time, and it's hard, and I'm not shy to admit this. I've been doing it this long. It's only been self-sustainable for me for the last few years,
Right.
like literally like the last 5 years, where I've been able to focus entirely on the arts, and that's my living. Part of it is because I went all in. And I threw all my eggs in this basket. No retreat, no surrender. Burn the bridges,
boats.
and that's
Burn
it.
the boats.
I'm not going back.
Yeah.
And so that created that drive. Because I got a family. I got 4 kids, and
Right.
they got to
But
eat.
that's the friction there. That's yours. You like
They got to eat. I can't come home and be like, "Hey, Dad, nice photo, but yo, can we get some food?" that wouldn't work. Like I took a picture of some bread. It wouldn't work.
Awesome.
So it's hard. It is. It's hard, and you have to. You know this. Come on, man.
I'm
Full-time,
living it.
You know it. You're a full-time artist. You've been out there, done the circuit. You know what it's like. It's a different beast.
Right.
But if you do it and you stick with it, it's the most enjoyable thing.
Right.
And my father told me when I was 16 years old, he said, "Do what you love and the money will follow."
Nice.
And if the money doesn't follow, I've never met a person who spent their life doing what they love and complained about it.
I love this guy, man. I don't even know him, but I'm telling
He's
you,
a
man.
life guru, man. My father's a life guru for real.
All right, when I come out the Bay, man, because I'm telling you, mashallah. I mean, that I would say that we used to leave it on a message, but you left it on that great message. Is there anything that we should be looking forward coming from you that our viewers should be looking, and where can they find you?
I'm working on things always. I have my hands in a few different pots right now, doing some things. Not anything that I can really announce
Okay.
now. And that's where you see the difference for me. In social media, I used to announce everything I was doing.
Right.
Now I don't.
Right.
And I just, once the product's done, I push it out there. But you should look for my sons.
Okay.
They're both aspiring filmmakers now. My oldest son is a very good photographer, and they're both aspiring filmmakers, and they just made their first film called The Mental Game. They're both martial artists and they're fighters.
Okay.
And so it's about the need to have a strong mental game as a fighter, that just having skills in and of itself
Okay.
is not going to be enough for you. And so that should be coming out probably within the next few months.
Okay.
And that's kind of my focus now, seeing them come up. They're both
Nice.
working with my company now.
Nice.
My son's shooting with me, traveling with me.
Nice.
And so that's my focus.
And is there a website that we can connect with you on?
Yeah,
Or?
just on my website, I'll put their stuff up there. It's mustafadavis.com, MUSTAFADavis.com.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, man. We really
pleasure, brother.
appreciate it, and we're gonna keep looking forward to you. And like I said, when I come out the West, you gotta let me meet this guy.
Alhamdulillah,
Inshallah.
for sure.
Again,
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. You're watching DeenTV, always on, always live.